The Oklahoma City Thunder pulled off an incredible comeback against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Chet Holmgren had a record-breaking night, and SGA looks like a future MVP.
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member, and editor-in-chief over at thunderousintentions.com, Rylan Stiles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Stiles. Follow the show on Twitter at LOThunderPod. You can even become a Locked On Thunder insider at subtext.com/LockedOnThunder. Folks, the Thunder just pulled off an epic comeback, down 10 points with only 2 minutes left, and they won the game on the road as Chet Holmgren has a record-breaking night. SGA looks like he's an MVP caliber player again, and the Thunder stole a game on the road. And tonight is all about you guys, and I put it on Twitter, like the support, the growth of this show since 2020 has been incredible. And since then, of course, the basketball oftentimes has not. And so it's a testament to you all sticking with this team, and it all was for a night like tonight in Cleveland, and what this game signifies is that this young Thunder team, they have arrived. Like they have hit that step. And I spent a lot of time talking in the preseason about how if you're evaluating this Thunder roster on paper, and the only thing holding you back from making some proclamations, some declarations, some predictions is that they're young, I think that's a pretty silly reason to hold yourself back on what this team could be. And the Thunder are still a very young team, but they don't play like a young team. They play like a more mature team, because young teams don't go on the road in an environment like this one, where it was more juiced up than a typical regular season game. I mean, it's the second straight game where it's a shirt game. It's the second straight home opener. The crowd was buzzing, and the crowd had reason to be buzzing, as Donovan Mitchell put on an absolute show in this contest. They got down, back and forth trading runs, got down 10 points in 2 minutes. Most of the time in the NBA, teams fold in that scenario. You saw Billy Donovan fold on Wednesday with like 10 minutes left in the game. I mean, it was just over for Chicago. But the Thunder just kept chipping away. They kept playing in all 48 minutes, and it led them to a very, very good comeback. And so the thing here is for Oklahoma City, and why it feels like tonight was one of those nights that you're going to remember as a rival for what this young core ends up being, is because good teams steal games like this. You know, Josh Giddey and J-Dub, they didn't have it. You didn't have two of your best bench players on Kenny Hustle and Jay Will. And yes, there were some frustrating mistakes. And yes, even down to like Isaiah Joe shot 1 for 7 from three. How many times is he going to shoot 14% from three this season? I bet not very many. You know, how many times is J-Dub, one of the most efficient players on the team last year, going to shoot 28% from the floor? I'd bet not very many. Josh Giddey goes 1 for 8. The Thunder didn't have their A game by any means, and they were still able to go on the road and pull out this win against a very good Cleveland team that is going to stack up as one of the top teams in the East. And so, of course, Cleveland didn't have Garland, didn't have Jared Allen, but they were good enough to get up 10 points with 2 minutes left. They weren't good enough to withstand the Thunder run. And so when you look at this Thunder team, one of their best assets is the fact that J-Dub didn't have it, Josh Giddey didn't have it for 99% of the game, but they were able to make key plays, J-Dub specifically, able to make key plays in the fourth quarter down the stretch of this game to help you win basketball games. I mean, you look at the fourth quarter from Jalen Williams after, of course, not playing well all night. He goes 3 for 5. Scores 9 points, a rebound, an assist, and a steal. You know, this is one of the worst games of his career, efficiency-wise, of his young career, but he just kept playing. He kept playing through that. And so that mentality to just continue to play and just forget about what the stat sheet says, forget about where you're at in that point in the game, and remain efficient and remain just kind of doing your job. And it eventually turned around for him in the final 12 minutes of the contest, and he played all 12 minutes of the fourth quarter. that's a testament to how good he's going to be down the road. Josh Giddey, he did not play but 7 minutes in the fourth quarter, but at the end of the day, Josh Giddey didn't shoot the ball well, didn't score well, but he was still able to be highly impactful on this contest. Like with his rebounding, with his assisting, he was able to still make an impact in a positive manner despite going 1 for 8 from the floor. But the key with this Thunder team is you, one, have SGA, who is not only a superstar, but he is an MVP caliber player. There is no debating it. He was, of course, finished 5th in MVP voting last year, and this year he looks even better. It is just insane the leaps that he continues to make summer after summer, and each summer you want to put that limitation on him. Each summer you want to say, hey, that's where he tops out at, and it never is. It never is. He comes back and is just as efficient as ever, arguably more efficient somehow. He is a much better playmaker, and the motor that he has to place at such a high end on the defensive side of the floor and then carry your offensive side of the floor, it's unmatched. There's a reason why most of these guys that are Shai level scorers don't even show up to the defensive side. You're playing 5-on-4 on that end whenever you have a score like Shai most of the time. But instead, there are games where Shai's your best defender down there, and there's games where he is, of course, one of your highest impact defenders down there. And the motor to be able to do that consistently for every game he's out there is incredibly impressive. And then here's the kicker. Talked a lot about pick your poison offense. It's also, this team is so deep and talent rich that we just went through. J-Dub didn't have it. Josh Giddey didn't have it. Even your best bench scorer didn't have it in Isaiah Joe. But Chet Holmgren steps up and is a unbelievable player, an unbelievable impactful player in this game. It's a record-setting night. He steps up. He fills the gaps. And this is just start number 2 for him. And he goes out there in this game and was phenomenal. 16 points, 13 rebounds, 7 blocks, a Thunder rookie record, to 1 turnover, 2 assists, and 1 steal. So 1 steal, 7 blocks. That is quite the defensive day. Thoroughly outplayed Evan Mobley in the first half, thoroughly outplayed him the entire game, really, but Evan Mobley did come back on in the second half and have a much better second half than first half. But Chet goes 3 for 4 from 3, continuing to shoot the lights out of the gym from beyond the arc as a 7-footer, which is able to allow this offense to get even better than it was last year and look just simply better by one simple key of having this stretch 5 who can play 30 minutes. Because you saw last year, like the most successful lineups had Muscala in them. Muscala couldn't play 30 minutes in the NBA. He can't play 30 minutes in the NBA. He certainly can't play nearly 31 minutes, which was what Chet Holmgren did last night. And the amount of rim pressure that this team gets at the rim and is driving downhill, it just frees up open threes for your stretch big, and it works to perfection, as we saw the foundation being laid. And I think that's a testament too to the way that the Thunder played last year, where the Thunder were kind of utilizing those minutes and playing those minutes in preparation of what we're seeing right here. So the Chet Holmgren minutes were just fantastic, and I think that what he said after the game was important, where he talked about how as a rookie debut, he didn't have any blocks and maybe it wasn't as impactful as he would like to be. And he mentioned that he looked at that game and he holds himself to a different standard than that. And so he knew he had to come back out and have a better game in this one. I think that standard, that mindset is contagious and also is already representative of this entire team. I guarantee you we won't see another bad J-Dub game Sunday. I guarantee you he comes out Sunday and is a much better player. I guarantee you Josh Giddey, much better player Sunday in the home opener. Like, this team is able to make the course corrections very well and really hammer in on those things and fix those things in a quick manner. And that's another reason why in this hustle and bustle regular season, you see the Thunder are going to have a lot of success. They're 2-0 already. They've won 2 road games, and everything has kind of gone their way. But yet, as everything is, trending and looking like it's going their way, the Thunder have a 20-point blowout win and a thrilling 10-point comeback in 2 minutes where the win percentage is shifting to Cleveland 98, 99%. And yet they by no means at all, in any stretch of the imagination, have they played their A game. There's no point where it was a matter of, well, the Thunder just played their best game and the Bulls played their worst, or the Thunder just played their best game and the Cavs didn't have Garland and Allen. Yeah, the Cavs didn't have those guys. I totally agree that they make a huge impact. They were still good enough to get 10 points up at the end of the fourth quarter and then blow it with this Thunder team going on that incredible run where you're hitting back-to-back threes, and Lu Dort, who was fantastic in this game. Lu Dort finally played the game that we've been talking about on this show, at least all throughout last season, especially at the tail end of last season, whenever right before the play-in, whenever the noise was at a fever pitch of what Lu Dort was doing offensively. Is he holding this offense back? Is he holding this team back? And I mentioned that I don't blame anyone for being frustrated, but I'm going to sound like a broken record here. The Thunder are going to be able to put him in a role next year where he is taking efficient shots and he is able to hone in on what he does well offensively. Offensively, since his rookie season, he's never shot below 40% on corner threes, and then he has the frame and the makeup to improve at the rim. He just has to actually go execute that, and that's exactly what he's done this season. Opening night, he only took threes and rim shots. Tonight, he has, I would say, his best regular season game. The Dorty 40 game was awesome. It was fun. It was a great meme. It didn't mean anything. Like somebody had to score that night, and it was Lu Dort, and that's great. And you can't take away a 40-point game from Lu Dort. That's awesome. But this game was totally different. This game was so impactful. And what I was encouraged by with Lu Dort's game, and what I take from this, as we talked about on Wednesday, how he was trying to play his role. He still had a few, of course, mistakes. Everybody does. Nobody's perfect. But in this game, to not allow yourself to revert back to old habits was impressive. Because for Lu Dort, you're looking at a game where J-Dub just was a non-factor offensively until the fourth quarter. Josh Giddey, a non-factor offensively all game. And you can revert back in your mind and say, well, I've got to put more on my shoulders now to go score. Now, Lu Dort did score more. He scored 25 points in this game. He did it efficiently, though. He scored 25 points, and he shot 69% from the floor. He shot 3 for 4 from 3, and his shot quality was very good. He was still very controlled. He didn't try to do too much and pick up the slack. He just said, okay, they're not having their game. That's fine. I'm still going to play my game. And it helped the Thunder in a huge way, because how many times have we seen Lu Dort put too much pressure on himself, try to do too much, try to take shots that are ill-advised for him, and it just throws the whole thing off, and it almost compounds the problem whenever you're already having some other guys have off nights. And so for Lu Dort to stay focused and to stay in his lane and in his role, despite what was happening around him, I just am so encouraged that that's going to be what he does all year long. And if he does that all year long, we're eventually going to get to the point where he's playing his role exceptionally well, and it's just rim finishes and threes. And then Josh is having his offensive game. J-Dub's having his best offensive game. And eventually, this is going to look exceptionally well for the Thunder, and they're going to look like a well-oiled machine on the offensive end of the floor. It's going to get there. And the fact that you're 2-0 and it hasn't gotten there yet, and you've had a 20-point win and this masterclass comeback, the sky is truly the limit for what this team can do, for what this team is able to accomplish. And if this is what not playing your best game looks like, is that you're still able to scrap and find your way to a massive road win and steal one, that's the difference in being a good team. In a standings watch where, I know it's only 2 games, so nobody cares about the standings right now, but in a Western Conference standings that projects to be so tough and projects to be so razor thin, the difference for some team who's going to be vastly disappointed by not even making the play-in tournament, much less not being in the top 6, the difference is going to be a game. It's going to be a game and a half. And it's stealing games like this one that end up making the difference, even though right now everyone is kind of cooling the jets of, it's only 2-0. It's only 2-0. A game is a game, and you can make that game up in the standings tonight. You can make that game up in the standings in April, and it all counts the same. So banking the win in Chicago is huge for this team. Coming up, we're going to get your takeaways for this Thunder team and continue to break down this incredible game for the Thunder. I want to say right now, pretty good friends over at FanDuel. Folks, FanDuel's great. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon today. Make every moment more at FanDuel. What they're going to do for you is they're going to give you $200 in bonus bets, win or lose, as long as you place a $5 bet for new customers. So new customers, what you do is you go make your account, you put in the code Locked On, and you place your first $5 bet, and no matter if you win that bet or lose that bet, boom, you get $200 right there from FanDuel. The Thunder are 2-0 at covering the spread as underdogs so far this year in Chicago and in Cleveland for OKC. Now we'll see what the spread looks like against Denver tomorrow, or Sunday. But the Thunder are a good bet to make for FanDuel. You can bet on the spread, player props, over-unders, all that good stuff. You can also bet, of course, on the NFL and college football. You can look at that OU Kansas game on there and make your prediction there, as well as OU right now is a 7.5-point favorite in Lawrence. So check it out at FanDuel.com/lockedon. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And to go with the cherry on top of what the players did, you once again saw an excellent coach team. Like this is an elite coach that you have in Mark Daigneault, elite at challenges. He has the tactical advantages as well. The fact that the NBA GM survey comes out and Mark has littered all over it in terms of the even tactical advantages for OKC. But also, you have a great game manager. And oftentimes in the NBA, that's the most important part. Like, this is a star-driven league. This is a player-driven league. And oftentimes just managing your timeouts very well and managing the flow of when to let your guys play through it, when to call a timeout to try to ease momentum. Like, the balance of that is oftentimes the most important thing a coach can do. Because at the end of the day, your stars have to go make plays. At the end of the day, your stars have to go TCB. And so not only did the players play exceptionally well, but this was an exceptionally coached game from Mark where you're able to pull off this comeback and meticulously use your timeouts to your advantage throughout this entire time as Cleveland goes on the run. And simply put, to let your players play. I mean, to let your players go out there and compete for 48 minutes. Because most coaches, whenever they see that whole, you're down 10 with 2 minutes, they just pack it in and say, okay, this is not our game. Let's get some rest. Let's steal some rest here for our top guys and then move into the next game. There's still time on the clock. They're still going to play, and that's going to lead to a lot of gritty, gutty wins for this Thunder team. So that's important to note as well for Mark being one of the best coaches that the NBA has to offer. And he's not going to get that level of credit until he does it in the postseason, because we typically reserve judgment on coaches for the postseason. But he's for sure the best coach in Thunder history already. And another aspect of this, we talked all preseason, could this team be a top 10 defense? They absolutely can. Forget about the Chet 7 blocks, which is hard to forget about because that was fantastic. In the modern NBA, to hold opponents to 105 and 104 in this league, with what the rules are, with what the pace is, with the space in this league, with the three-point shooting in this league, to do that on consecutive nights to open your season, you'll take that 10 times out of 10, twice on Sunday. You'll take that every day of the week of what this league has become. Exceptionally played defense for the Thunder, and they figured it out, and they just gutted out a road win. And so when you look at this game, the Thunder fought to the end. They got a massive win, and it's going to be a game we look back on. I think not only for this season, as the margins are going to be so thin, but we're going to look back on whenever we're telling the story of what this core ends up doing. This was a moment for them. And of course, the home opener should be juiced. It's a 2:30 game. I hope that the fans still get out there and provide a raucous environment because this team does deserve it. And they played the Denver Nuggets. You play the champions. But what a start. What a start. 2-0 in these first 5 games, which are going to be incredibly tough, which we've gone over throughout this whole week. But now I want to read off your takes on Twitter, because again, the support for this show and the growth that this show has seen over the last few years, even while the basketball on the court at times has not been very great, has been phenomenal. So I want to give this show, of course, back to you, to where we can get your takes on here of this incredible game. Melinda says that the Thunder being able to stay poised and finish this game out was the biggest takeaway from this game for Melinda. I totally agree that the poise that this young team showed on the road cannot go unnoticed. And the age thing never bothered me in making predictions this offseason, and you're seeing why in this game. Daniel says that the Thunder need J-Will back, cannot keep playing guards at the 5 position. So today, I think, was the case where Oos hurt you a little bit at small ball 5 because of the physicality and the nature of the Cavs makeup. And yeah, the Thunder do need J-Will back. I think just as importantly, they need Giddey Williams back, because even if the Thunder did want to go small and viewed that as the advantage, Giddey Williams is a much better small ball 5 than Ousmane Dieng is. And that's no knock on Ousmane Dieng. He's mentioned that he's still trying to learn how to play that position. As recently as a couple of days ago, he said that at practice. So he's still learning the ins and outs of being the small ball 5, whereas Giddey Williams has mastered being the small ball 5. So that can then return Ousmane Dieng to a more natural forward spot once Giddey Williams comes back. And of course, J-Will as well. I think that J-Will's in for a really big year this year once he gets on the court, from what we saw at training camp and preseason. Jay says that Shai is at this level in MVP already, and the Thunder are going to be a top 5 seed by the end of the season. I predicted the Thunder be a top 5 seed, so I hope that happens, because I like to be right on my predictions. And yeah, Shai's an MVP caliber player. Now, we'll see how this is so early to have MVP conversations. The narratives have to unspool. The standings have to take shape. But there are not many, if any, players playing better basketball than Shai right now. And I'd venture to say that there's no basketball player who's playing better than SGA at this current time. On October 27th, there's no one better playing basketball right now than SGA. Jan says winning games without few players playing great, that makes me happy. We have a great roster and depth, next man up mentality, and Chet for defensive player of the year. The depth is awesome, and what's scary is or I shouldn't say it's scary for the rest of the league. What's encouraging and interesting. How do you manage this depth whenever you do get Kenny back and J-Will back? Like those guys are going to help the team, but now how do you manage minutes when they get back is going to be fun to follow along with and to see. And I think that what we're seeing here is, for example, the Thunder went into spurts and dry spells where they did try the whole, what I talked about, of flipping through the Rolodex of players and seeing if you can find the right combination. They tried, after not playing them the whole first half, not playing them at all in Chicago, and kind of hinting from Mark that they wouldn't play him tonight. They played Miches. They played Miches tonight after kind of hinting that they wouldn't and didn't play him, of course, in Chicago. And it was not a large enough sample size to truly grade him on. But I think that tonight in this stretch, even without J-Will and Kenrich, really firmed up my belief in the Thunder just going to continue to flip through these guys game after game. And more often than not, they're going to find enough players who are playing well enough to win basketball games. Tyler Adams says Josh is so reliant on drives and finishing, which has improved a lot, that when he's off, he just looks so bad. Yeah, I mean, when he's not scoring, it's going to look bad, especially. And I think that I think that the hard part for Josh is he is so good at shooting floaters, but whenever the floaters don't go in, then people are just so quick to talk about how, don't shoot floaters, attack harder at the rim. But then when they go in, there's kind of no conversation about it. I think ultimately what's happened is Josh has vastly improved at attacking the rim, attacking downhill, and being more aggressive and attacking the rim harder than he did last year and harder than he has in his NBA career. But we've only had 2 games, and one of them he just had a bad game. Whereas if he would have played like he played Wednesday, if he would have played that way for a week and then had this game, it doesn't really matter in the sense of the discourse around Josh Giddey. JA says that Chet's recovery block is unreal. His three-point shooting is legit, and his rebounding is much better tonight. Giddey and Jalen had off nights. Chet and Dort were huge in this win. I completely agree there. Milo says that Dort is a part of this core, whether people like it or not. Is Chet emotional leader in the making? Giddey on the bench in crunch time. OKC is popcorn entertainment. We're so back. So a lot to unpack there. For one, Giddey was on the bench. You're right in crunch time, and I've been telling you that like Mark's going to bench these guys if they're not playing well. He did it last year. Like that was part of what he did last year on a lesser talented team than what this year's team. So like if Mark was comfortable leaving Josh on the bench, leaving Dort on the bench, leaving J-Dub on the bench, like at the end of last year, at the end of games last year to ride other hot hands, he's certainly going to be okay with it this year whenever they have a lot more talent on their roster. And so tonight wasn't Josh's night. He doesn't play the end of the fourth quarter, and the Thunder win a game. And guess what? He'll close on Sunday as long as he's having a better game, and hopefully the Thunder will have another win. But like the Thunder are not going to be scared to ride the hot hand, and the beautiful part about it to this point has been that the players have been fully bought into that and like have no gripes with that and want the best players playing. I think that Chet as an emotional leader is a really good observation. I think that I'd be shocked if it didn't happen because it's just that infectious energy where it comes from a different element than the Thunder have. Like the Thunder have energy guys. Like J-Dub dunking and yelling is an energy guy. Kenrich Williams diving on the floor and leading by example is an energy guy. Jay Will screaming boom on threes and being so vocal is an energy guy. But the energy that Chet Holmgren provides, this bravado that he has, the swagger that he has, and like you said, the emotion that he plays with is not like what we've seen a lot of on this current team. Like SGA is the baddest guy on the floor every single night. Like he is the best player on the floor. He just kind of has that unspoken kind of leadership of I'm going to drop 30 points. But whenever he's dropping 30 points, he rarely hits that peak of like emotion, hits that peak of excitement. He's just kind of steady, and that's great. And you want these guys to be who they are, and that's who SGA is. But adding Chet to the room where he's going to let you know about it, he's going to get chippy, he's going to get physical, he's going to get talking to both teams and including hyping up his own guys, but also including stirring the pot with the other team. That is something that the Thunder don't have, and so it just adds to how balanced. Now, coming up, we're going to continue to read your takes on today's Locked On Thunder podcast, but I do want to tell you right now about good friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is awesome. You can use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. What you do is, it's very fun. They have every sport. Like they have NBA, college football, NFL, NHL. They have every sport that you can want, MLB. You just pick 2 to 5 players and you just project whether they have more or less than their numbers. That's it. So you're not playing against these full-time fantasy players that you see on like TikTok and social media that are telling you how to win your leagues. You're not playing them. You're just playing the projected number. So if the line is set at SGA having more or less than a half a block, all you got to do is sit back and watch the game. And if SGA gets a block and is more than half of a block, boom, you've won at PrizePicks. So check it out today at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. It's a lot of fun. You can even do mixed sport entries. So if you're sitting back tonight and you're watching the NBA, you're watching the World Series, you're watching college football, maybe you got a 3 TV setup, and maybe you're adding in a tablet and a computer to go along with your setup for tonight with so much sports on. Boom, boom, boom. You can combine all of those sports into this PrizePicks entry for yourself if you want to. So check it out today, prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA with a first deposit match up to $100. So we're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day, continuing on to reading your takes. John Swanson says that this game felt like last season, a win from last season. Tough, gritty, grinding it out. Chet was outstanding. Totally agree there with Chet being outstanding in this game. We can continue on here with Morgan Workman. Can you clap back at folks on X, formerly known as Twitter, who've been saying all offseason that Shai can't score without free throws? 34 points on 2 free throws is insane in today's NBA. And also it's 32 points, I guess, on 0 free throws, because those 2 free throws that he got were in, intentional foul scenarios. Like, they were not within him playing basketball, which is insane. He should have had way more free throw attempts than that. And it's not going to be a ref podcast here. We're not locked on refs, but he really had 0 free throws in the flow of a basketball game. He got intentionally fouled because the Cavs had to foul at the end of the contest. But other than that, he didn't get to the free throw line, and he still scored an efficient 34 points, and he still was able to help lead his team to a win on the road. Look, at the end of the day, it's like Devin Booker said, you cannot talk basketball with everybody. And if you are still in the camp of like discrediting SGA, maybe that's just somebody that you shouldn't talk basketball with. Like, maybe that's just someone that you shouldn't talk shop with for your sanity. But we'll continue to go on here with more of your takes. Michael Avery says, this never say die attitude for the Thunder is awesome. I totally see what you're saying there. They do have a never say die attitude. It's fun to watch. It's very, very fun to watch. Kev says the Thunder had too many turnovers, but they found a way to win. So the turnover thing, you're already going to have more turnovers as a team who wants to push the pace and wants to play so fast. So the turnover number itself will typically be higher than other teams, and it's a kind of a trade-off there. But it's not going to be 18 turnovers high. It has to get cleaned up from there. And some of those turnovers were just, I think, just early season stuff. And it's the same way with against Chicago. Like Chicago, they had 15 turnovers in that 20-point win. I think some of it's just early season stuff. Some of it is just their play style. But yeah, they absolutely need to clean up some turnovers in this as this season progresses and moves forward. So we can continue on here. The Meek Link says that J-Dub might have had an off game, but he showed up when it counted, and that's what stars do. I think that it's a testament to his mindset of most players let the 3 bad quarters take you out for the fourth quarter, whereas this team is filled with guys who are just going to keep playing and keep playing through the whistle and keep playing through the final buzzer, and eventually it'll stack on itself and stack some successful run on to this Thunder team. Remote Worker 12 says, we don't watch this Thunder team play. You watch this Thunder team fight. Good team still wins. Thunder up. This Thunder team is just, it's going to be the most fun team to watch in the NBA. For all the buzz, for all the buzz, I said 5 different NBA teams. I said Bucks, I said Knicks, I said Cavs, and I'm trying to say, for all the buzz that the Kings got last year, light the beam, breaking the streak. This is such a fun style of basketball. They're lighting it up. It's going to be tenfold by the time we get to Christmas about this Thunder team. They're resilient, and it's big time from Brew. And there's another one. Plan the parade. I'm not going to go that far. It'd be great to simply win a playoff series for the first time since Durant left for OKC. That would be a tall task this year, even after starting 2-0. But I cannot blame anyone for being super duper excited about what this team has looked like to this point, because to close where we started with, the Thunder have looked this impressive, this good, this fun, and they by no means have gotten close to their A game yet as a team. So we'll leave you with that. Thank you to everyone who put in your reactions. I read all of them, but of course, it's tough to get to all of them. We'll have another post-game recap after the Nuggets game. So until then, be good and be good to one another.